SportCom Sport Chat. We're back after a long break. I'm Michelle Kennedy here with Adam Shear. Adam, how was your time off?
It was good. I mean, I got some rest and enjoyed my break. How about you?
It was good. The slippery conditions haven't been too good to me this year. I've had a number of spills, which you were lucky enough to witness yesterday.
Yeah, I noticed you had a lot of snow on the pants that I don't think was...
Whatever, you know, it happens. In this edition of SportCom Sport Chat, though, we will be discussing Indiana's loss to Wisconsin this week, as well as some IU players that will be going pro next year.
And then we're going to forego all Pacers and Colts coverage to talk Bears-Packers in depth this week.
Right, so last night, Adam, the Indiana basketball team fell to number 17 Wisconsin, 69-60. In the beginning, it looked like a game where they could win. Again, they were winning it after the first half. What happened in the second half?
It's just one of those games where they keep, you know, kind of, I hate to use the word choking, but that's truly what they're doing anymore. I mean, you get to the point where you're playing a team like Wisconsin, who hasn't ever lost to IU at home, very tough, and with an inexperienced team, and then they just make costly turnovers and dumb fouls, and there's just so much at the end of games that's really costing them in these situations.
Yeah, and it really seemed like Wisconsin was driving every time. Indiana just can't do it, and I don't know, do you think it had any effect, the fact that Maurice Creek is now out?
No, actually, and you know what, I think, and Maurice is a great player, don't get me wrong, but he was kind of hampering the offense this year. He really was limited as far as what he could do. It still looked like he was trying to get back into the swing of things. So now without him, you kind of play with that core group who practiced together early in the season,
right,
and it was a little more used to each other than with the addition of Creek in there.
Right, well, as you know, the schedule's not getting any easier from here on out. They're only 1-5 in Big Ten games, and I really think that they can win a few more, though. I think that they can beat Iowa at home. I think they can beat Minnesota at home, Northwestern at home, and you know what? I'm going to go with them beating Purdue at home this year.
It'll be interesting. I mean, if they can get Juwan Johnson into foul trouble in that game, that's definitely something that could happen. I mean, last year they played them very close. It came down to a missed three at the end that could have tied the game, so.
Right.
You know, we also, in the Hoosier news, we have three Hoosiers, I guess, who went pro recently. Will Bruin and another member of the soccer team, and as well as Tandon went his senior season here to enter the NFL draft. What do you think that the soccer team will be missing with those two players gone?
Oh, well, with Will Bruin, obviously, offensively, it's a huge blow to the team. He led the team by far in goals, 18 goals this year, 66 overall in his 3 years as a Hoosier. He had 5 assists. He was Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, so I have no doubt that it's going to hamper them offensively, but I think this was a good decision for him. I do think he'll do well in Houston, and it's not the last we'll hear of Will Bruin, that's for sure. As far as Tandon, how do you think it'll affect Wilson's offense now?
Obviously, Tandon's the most versatile player on that Hoosiers team. He brought kick return. He was a great receiver, both possession and downfield target. So they're really going to be missing that. But here's the thing is they still have Kofi Hughes in the wing right now waiting for his shot, and they also had Deweese Wilson, who really came on at the end of last year.
You can't forget DeMarlo Belcher.
And DeMarlo was the leading receiver in the Big Ten last season.
Right.
So it's going to hurt them, don't get me wrong. Tandon's a fantastic player, but they still have talent at that receiver position.
Right, and really at this point, how much can we really rely on the throwing game right now?
Yeah,
we don't even know where it's going.
Yeah,
so.
no, I mean, no one really knows who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Hoosier team next year, so that's a big thing.
Right, well, when we get back, we'll be discussing the NFC Championship game. Welcome back to SC Squared. So, for the second time in history, the first since 1941, Bears and the Packers will meet in the NFC Championship, will meet in the postseason for the NFC Championship title. Adam, what are your offensive keys for the Packers in order to win this game and go on to the Super Bowl?
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers is obviously one of the main factors in this game. What we saw with him against Atlanta was a quarterback who had the ability to escape the pocket and make decisions on his feet, as well as get receivers open by just creating that space on offense. So I think that's really going to be a key, especially against a pretty good Chicago defense. The other key that you really have is James Starks. He's a rookie. He's not really proven. I mean, yeah, he's had a couple good games at the end of the season here, but let's see what happens when he gets into cold conditions in Chicago, and they really have to put a lot of the weight on him, because this is going to be a game where the running game is going to be very important for the Packers.
Right. What about that Green Bay defense? What do they have to do?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot that they can do, actually. They have so much talent on that team. You have Clay Matthews, who can come off the edge and bring the blitz, as well as Charles Woodson, who can come in from that cornerback spot spot and give Cutler some issues. And also, I mean, you just have that secondary that's so talented. I mean, they have nearly 3 Pro Bowlers in that secondary. Tremont Williams has been fantastic in the playoffs so far. You know, he's getting interceptions left and right, and I'm pretty sure that Cutler might be one of the targets of that as well.
Right.
Now, speaking of Jay Cutler, what do you think that Chicago's offense would have to do to win this game?
Well, like you're saying, they need to be prepared for the blitz. The Packers blitzed the Bears 19 times in Week 17, so they're going to have to be prepared for that. Be prepared for the pressure that Tremont Williams, Charles Woodson, and Clay Matthews will definitely be putting on Cutler, who, you know, he showed it was only his first postseason game, and he had 2 rushing and 2 passing touchdowns. I think Cutler's going to have to be prepared to run again, though, and he looked pretty athletic the last game. So those are my keys for the offense.
Yeah, Cutler had an Aaron Rodgers-esque performance last week.
Easy.
What about the defense? Tell us about how Brian Urlacher and the Bears defense will perform in this game.
Just create pressure. They need to get to Rodgers. They need to shut him down, hopefully put pressure on him make those mistakes.
Yeah, no, that's...
And also limit any yardage after the catch as well, and minimize John Starks.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Greg Jennings and Donald Driver are 2 of the best at yards after the catch in the NFL. What about your prediction? What do you think this is going to come down to? Both these games against these teams this year have both been close. I mean, they've come down to literally the last quarter.
Right. I mean, both of these teams know each other so well. I really think it's going to come down to field position, and for the Bears, weapons like Devin Hester. Bears also have home field advantage. That's a big thing. The conditions are going to be bad. We know there's going to be a lot of slipping. I think both teams are kind of prepared for that. It's not like the Packers play in a dome. Coming from a dome last week, though, you never know, because it could hinder them a little bit. But I have to go with the Bears. You know that. How about you?
All right, well, since yours is a homer pick, I'm going to be unbiased here. I will say the Packers win this game. I think it will be close, but I think it might actually be a 10-point game. I think Green Bay will put a field goal on the board late in the game to kind of put it away and seal the deal. All right, guys, when we get back, Zach and Logan will be discussing the AFC Championship game.
Welcome back into SportCom Sport Chat. I'm Zach Geisenberg, joined by Logan Robertson, here to talk about the AFC Championship between the Jets and the Steelers. Logan, what are some keys to the game on Sunday?
Well, I think a key to the game is really just going to be how the offenses play against the defense. I mean, both defenses were just so good during the regular season. When you talk about the Jets' defense, they were 3rd overall on defense during the regular season, only allowing 291 yards. But then when you flip it around, they've got the Steelers, who only allowed 276 yards for 2nd best overall defense. So the defenses, I think, are both a key. You don't really call them key players, but I think those are going to be the big keys to really watch for. I think everybody's kind of looking for that, so maybe you flip it around and say, is this going to be an offensive game? One thing I think to really look at will be Darrelle Revis against the wide receivers of Pittsburgh. I mean, the Pittsburgh wide receivers are good, but I don't think anybody thinks that they're, you know, just the best wide receivers in the game. You've got Mike Wallace and Hines Ward as 2 of the bigger wide receivers. I think, Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie can really shut those guys down if they are given the opportunity. We'll see how much Ben Roethlisberger throws, but you know what? They've still got a pretty good running game with Rashard Mendenhall.
Definitely. Cromartie and Revis will have their hands full this Sunday. Who are some other key players that we should watch out for while watching the game on Sunday?
Well, then if you flip it around, you got to look at the Jets. Mark Sanchez has played pretty well in this postseason. Played well against the Colts, beat them at Indy, and then he turns around and beats the Patriots in New England, which is always tough to do, especially the kind of slaughtering that New England put on him earlier in the regular season. So for him to come around and turn that game around, he's only in his 2nd year, you know, and he's playing in his 2nd straight AFC Championship game, attempting to go into the Super Bowl. That's a pretty good thing for a 2nd-year player. So he's really going to be a key to the game. And then I think LaDainian Tomlinson, he's run exceptionally well this year for the New York Jets. He has been, you know, just kind of revived after leaving San Diego and just looking like a younger, you know, more youthful player, and I think that's really going to help him, you know, but I mean, in the game, and, you know, but running up against, you know, the best rushing defense from the regular season from the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You mentioned Mark Sanchez before, a Southern California native, not really used to playing in the cold weather. Talk about the cold weather and how it'll affect both teams in their play.
Well, both teams are kind of used to that cold weather. They both play outdoors, so they have played in some cold weather games. I don't think cold weather will be as much of a factor. The fuel will be cold, but they'll have things to keep the players warm, just like they have been. I mean, they've been playing in cold weather most of the late part of the season and into the playoffs. So I don't think cold weather will be as much of a factor as it can be for some teams that come from a dome stadium to play indoor. That play outdoor, so I don't think the weather will really be that big of a factor tonight.
This game certainly seems like it is going to be really exciting. I know, and to quote Bart Scott, can't wait. Logan, what is your final prediction for the game? Who do you think will win, and what is the final score?
Well, honestly, I think as much as we've talked about the defenses, I could see this being kind of a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 31-24 Steelers.
All right, sounds good, but I'm going to disagree with you there.
Okay.
I'm going to go 14-7, Jets with the victory, and on to Dallas. So stay tuned for next week when we will highlight both football games and talk about the NHL All-Star Game.